It's freaking incredible out. It's incredible. The sun's shining. It's no longer... What the hell was that? Well, it's no longer 30 degrees or 0 degrees. At least not today. Today, it's a cool... Okay, well, 39. But with the sun, it feels much better. So we just finished a big old breakfast. I'm talking classic American. Eggs, bacon, pancakes. Eggs, bacon, pancakes. White bread toast. Fully buttered. Yeah, I am feeling good. I am feeling rather good. And I've just about reached baseline weight kind of equilibrium for me right now. So what I mean by that is immediately post-show, I basically gained, I don't even know how many pounds. At minimum, 15 pounds of like extra water. And I don't mean like intramuscular, like glycogen kind of water. I mean like sub-skin layer, like just making you look puffy in the face kind of water. Not cool, right? And then over the course of these last few days, that has gradually kind of gotten back to normal to the point where I can see my actual kind of calf striations because, oh, I should have taken a picture, but 2 days out, oh my gosh, yeah, I was rocking some pretty serious edema, but you know, not caused by any kind of like sort of problem or whatever, really just the nature of getting all that water back in my system. You know, I know I've been saying this a lot, but it's really like I'm kind of treating it's like these last couple of weeks I was treating my body like a sponge, wringing out as much fluids as I could get out of it to reach that real dry, depleted look, and then opening up the floodgates, chowing down on basically anything I can get my freaking mitts on, and then filling back up. But morning weight has been kind of bouncing around 250-ish, and that feels pretty normal right now, but I think I'm probably going to peel back down a little more, or not peel back down, but I'm sure my morning weight is going to balance out at about 248, something along those lines. And once I actually reach that balance point where it's like, okay, this is what I weigh right now that I've been eating at maintenance calories, then that'll be the starting point for this bulking phase, because it's kind of tricky, especially it's a little bright, but because you know it's some pretty insane weight fluctuations that I've had these last 2 weeks. But my walking around dieted weight, like in like the lifts that I was doing a few days before both of those bodybuilding shows, I was walking around normal level of hydration at 230. So the last few days before getting on stage, extra depletion, extra dehydration, dry out, that's what put me at that 217, 216 check-in weight. But it's not like I really weighed 217. You know, that was just a momentary dried out sort of position. Like I could never walk around at that weight, because as soon as I start eating or drinking anything, I'd refill back up. So my dieted baseline weight was 230, so that's depleted but not dehydrated. And now that I'm a bit more full of carbs, it's putting me closer to that 240s or upper 240s, and then right about the 250 mark, which is about right. That's kind of what I expected. A little heftier than I would have guessed. Like I thought I'd weigh more like 245 fully carved up, which maybe I will, you know, we'll see over the next few days, because I'm still holding on to some water, but it'll much less than those first couple of days. But I got my food in my system. Now it is time for some cardio. These videos were kind of on a little bit of a, like I'd record it and then post it the same day. Every time the Arnold or not the Arnold, but anytime anything kind of messes with the posting routine, it kind of throws me off in terms of the timing. So pretty much every time you see a cardio video, that's just me getting a little chit chat in before we get back to our regularly scheduled lifts. But 30 minutes on the seated bike, and I can't stress enough, man, if you're bulking, the cardio is even easier because you've got food in your system. Like, dude, this 30 minutes is going to pass like nothing. You know, like by the time I've watched, I don't know how many Instagram reels or scroll through a couple of YouTube videos or watch some freaking, just like some whatever, the 30 minutes is going to be over. Now, that's easy for me to say because I've I've sort of spoiled myself in terms of the intensity of the cardio, because I've kind of gotten into a little bit of a mental mode where like an hour of cardio at a time twice a day was like what I was used to doing. So for me to go back to the 30 minutes a day, it feels like nothing. But it's not that hard, right? So I don't want to turn this into a whole cardio rant, but yeah, a little weight update, floating around upper 240s, right at 250, kind of at well, we'll just kind of see. But once that actually balances out, that's when I can really say that this bulk has actually begun. Because it's not like when I didn't just gain 20 pounds of muscle, not even close. All that happened was the muscle I've already got in my frame. Like if these are my muscle fibers, right? All they did has now expanded and filled up with carbs and water and all sorts of other muscular stuff that just gets you freaking extra sarcoplasmatic, if that's even close to a correct word. But I'm gonna go camp out. Shouldn't take me too long, only exactly 30 minutes, and then we can get back to some post-lift discussion. Actually, I'll post a Q&A while I'm doing the cardio. So let's answer some viewer questions in a minute. All right, I think I've got a couple solid questions in here. So let's get straight to the first comment. Robbie 8886. First, he says first. He was the first comment. Had to signify it. And then his second statement, not a question mark, or not a question. He just said skibbity. All right, well, reasonable start, but he kind of missed the format. But that's pretty funny. You know, everybody loves a little skibbity now and again. Derek Constantino 7759. How big is too big? And this is kind of alluding into a different question coming later on. But there's a limit. You know, there's definitely a limit. In terms of, like, my starting position to my end goal that I've kind of got visualized in my mind, which I'm not... It's like, you know, you can look up to certain guys and say, like, oh, I want to look like this dude, or I want to be as big as this guy. But it's like, don't forget, you can't just suddenly copy the way that somebody's body looks. Like, you can get as big as somebody else, but you're going to have your own sort of distinctive build and shape and insertions and everything else. So it's like, I could imagine myself with 10 more pounds of lean tissue, or like 15 more pounds of muscle, but I'm not really exactly sure what I'll look like when I get there, you know? But eventually, there will definitely be a limit. I mean, I've been saying this forever. It's like, I'm going to continue to bulk up, and eventually I'm going to reach a size where I'm like, all right, this is nice. And you're kind of forced to do that anyway, because even with how I'm going about it, there is still diminishing returns with just how physically big you can get. And at a point, it's not even like what you're really aiming for, you know? Like, if you look at year to year to year, stage photos, but even just like progress pictures from like higher level bodybuilders, there isn't like, okay, this year I'm this big, this year I'm this big. Whoa, he just made an incredibly, just totally massive jump out of nowhere in just 1 year. Like, it does start to slow down. So that's where it's like, as much as I can imagine what I'm going to look like later on, you kind of evolve with like your muscular maturity. You get a little bit of a harder, kind of grainier sort of look. It's just like the nature of getting some, muscle maturity, right? There's a limit, but I'm not there yet. So I think that's kind of my thought process there. Chase, what's the cat's name, right? So when I posted this Q&A, I put a little picture of Rascal up there. Yeah, Rascal's kind of cute. He's, it's kind of funny. He's got a bit of a goatee and like a little, like pencil-y kind of beard right down here. But I didn't really notice it until I got back home after the Arnold. He kind of looks a little bit like Summerfield when he's got the mustache, at least, because he kind of has a little bit of kind of his own curly looking thing in his face. So maybe I gotta, well, there's no renaming him now, but yeah, that's Rascal. He's buddies with the other cats, but he's not a huge fan of getting picked up yet. He's working on it. You know, he was a rescue, so let's just say he's got an upgraded routine now that he gets to hang out with me compared to where he was before. Chihabethemry? Whatever. 9434. How many cats is too many cats? That's a question to be answered. I'm not sure I'm the guy to answer it. Because frankly, I'm a little bit biased. Because it's almost like there is no number. There's a number for sure. I guess it depends on how much space you have. You know, you've got because what if you got outdoor cats? You know, what if you're walking a big ass plot and you've got like a barn and everything outside? I mean, dude, you can have a whole little freaking ecosystem of critters scurrying about, and they're kind of self-sufficient, catching mice and whatever else. My old boss, Aaron, he'd always tell me about, you know, because he sort of lives on a kind of farmy kind of spot or whatever. But he'll tell me about this one outdoor cat he has. Like, he's got two of them. One of them is a little bit nicer. The other one's only nice to him, but he's tough. Like, you know, usually cats are walking around all gentle, like, just plopping around. He'll tell me this one, like, big, kind of fat cheeks or whatever, and he stands like this. Like he's walking around like a freaking pit bull. But the only reason I bring that up is he started feeding him. Like, started giving him wet food and everything, and now he won't catch any mice because he's just waiting for his dinner. And it's kind of funny. But I'm sure there's a limit, right? There's definitely a limit. Keith, if you could work out with any bodybuilder, who would it be? Right, now, he asked that question 2 years ago. My ass would have said Jay freaking Cutler. And now look at me. So it's I'm getting extra spoiled now. But no, there's gonna be some branching out. It's because I mean, every time I end up lifting with somebody like that, even if I don't like, because I don't want it to be like a study session, lifting with anybody. You know, it's like I want us to lift hard, kind of have fun with it. But I always do get a lot of good tips. I was just reading some kind of comment. Dude, I think over the course of these last 2 years, even 1 year, from just being exposed to so many people actually kind of in person, plus all the feedback I've been getting, I think the training that I've got is definitely improved. Now, it's, you know, it's not like you just completely flip your training style upside down every time you get a new critique or a new tip or anything. But it's just gradual little things that you start to implement, and it starts to just change the way that you go about what you're doing. But yeah, I'm not sure who now. I guess I gotta think about it. Stay Greasy 107. Do I wear outside shoes in the house? I try not to. Right? I try to get them off ASAP, throw them in the closet, just so I don't get the carpets dirty. Right? That'd be a little bit of a mess. But honestly, it's pretty. I don't really track in much mud or anything. You know, I mean, I'm never like freaking getting my shoes extra dirty. So like, if I'm just walking around sidewalks and gyms and stuff, I might walk around a little bit with some outside shoes on, but I try to take them off. Sanjeev Kumar, when is the next collab, and with whom? I'm not totally sure. The Arnold would have been nice to kind of maybe try to schedule something like that in, just because everybody and their freaking mom, fitness-wise, had congregated to Columbus, but I was kind of a little preoccupied with the competition and everything. But no, they're definitely coming. This is that's kind of on the to-do list as this year passes. Get some more character interactions in there. Getting kind of jealous. I'm looking at all the I've been watching all the Trend Twins videos with all the guys they've been playing around with or lifting with. Yeah, it's kind of fun. But we'll have some crews around for sure. Not tomorrow, but soonish, you know, eventually. Will I hire a coach or compete again solo for the next show, right? Which would be the pro debut. I'll think about it. You know, I kind of like, just on like a subjective note, I kind of like the no coach, because then in a way it's like, all right, I did that. nobody can kind of take any specific credit. But coaches definitely have a ton of freaking intel at their disposal in history, and they okay, I was about to say something. Oh yeah, and if I totally bombed my prep going into these last shows, I'd have to say, yeah, shit, man, nobody else to blame but me. Like, totally screwed that up. But luckily it ended up working out. And it's kind of like, I want to be able to figure it out for myself, like the same thing with the training. It's trial and error. We did the first show, came back with some critiques and some tips, made some adjustments, then came back again 2 weeks later. So it's kind of, it is, the bodybuilding, at least from my perspective, I feel like this is a very solo kind of endeavor. Like it's all you, it's sort of your responsibility to push it. But we'll see. We'll just have to see then. It's going to be a while, so I don't really have to worry about that today. Looking back as an IFBB pro, what was the moment you knew you wanted your pro card? Or when or who made you realize that that's what you wanted? Well, I don't know. When I started working out, I kind of knew this was the path that I was going to go on. Like, I knew I wanted to get this big. So it's not so much that I looked at the guys who were at this level and I thought, like, okay, I can't wait to get my pro card. That's going to be sick. And like, it definitely was freaking... it definitely did feel pretty freaking cool. But it's almost more so like I just wanted, like, I want to look like these guys, And they are just pro caliber builds, So, I'm still climbing, Don't worry. There's going to be a lot of progress to be made. But it's more so I just wanted to reach that level. And that level just happened to be like pro bodybuilder kind of level, but it was, so it's not necessarily like I'm chasing a specific accolade. It's really kind of as simple as, like, I just want to be freaking huge, big and lean. It's just, I don't know. For me, that just scratches me in the right kind of way. But, I think it's kind of as good of an answer as I can come up with. Matthew Rimitisado, what's the secret with staying consistent and staying locked in? And that's where I might say that the secret is that there's no secret, and that you're kind of potentially wasting some of your mental energy by, like, trying to think that there is a secret, It's like you got an ice bath in front of you. Okay, oof. All right. If I do Wim Hof breathing technique, I'll be able to get in the ice bath and it won't feel cold. And then I can sit in there for 20 minutes. Yeah. Not exactly, man. That's just going to be cold, You just got to kind of thug it out. But the trick with it, that, I guess you could say the secret, in a way, it's more so just, a nature of adaptation. But the more and the longer that you do something, the better you get at it and the easier it is to do. Just look at you going through school. First grade, obviously they're giving you some basic ass math, but it's a little tricky. You don't know your times tables yet, and then okay, now I've learned them. Now that's kind of easy. Yeah, obviously 5 times 5 is 25. What are you talking about? I got this. Right. And the next year they give you harder problems. You start to learn those. You get the gist of it, and then you just keep moving up from there. So it's the same with the lifting. It's like, sure, in the beginning, even going to the gym at all is the challenge. But that means that once you've gone there, right, you've just kind of made a new accomplishment, and the next time you come back, it's going to be a little easier, right? So just the more you do it, the easier it gets to do, right? It's like that monkey from BoJack Horseman. What's that quote that he said? I can't remember, but you just try to get a little more consistent gradually, and before you know it, shit, man, gym 6 days a week, it's just going to be part of your schedule. And not even like your have to do schedule, like laundry or cleaning the house or whatever. It's on your get to do schedule. It's going to be something you're excited about. It might take a little while to get to that level, but if you keep pushing it incrementally, you get there. Everybody does, don't worry. I kind of trimmed this guy's username, but how to trust in the process during fat loss when the scale isn't going down. Now that's where I might ask you, how long has it not been going down for, right? Because if it's been like 3 weeks and you're still 223, right, what that tells me is this gap, right, which is calories consumed versus calories burned, isn't big enough, right? So you're just right here. You're eating as much food as you're burning, so your weight isn't changing. So you can change two things. Increase your cardio, which is going to increase the amount of calories that your body requires per day, or, and decrease your calories, right? Because you want this gap to be sufficient enough where you see at least, I'd want to see a pound per week lost. That's usually pretty much a solid kind of goal in my mind. But maybe you can only handle half a pound, or you're crazy and you can jump down to 2 pounds a week, right? I think a pound's probably the sweet spot. But if you're not seeing gradual averages, at least on a longer scale of like at least a week, 2 weeks or so, then that means that this gap isn't big enough to facilitate fat loss. So there is a trusting the process of it, because on a day-by-day basis, your weight's going to look like this, So it's like, oh, crap, I just gained 2 pounds. Oh, sweet, I just lost 4 pounds. So you do have to trust the process and at least sticking to whatever calorie limit you're at for a week, 2 weeks to start to see a trend line. But if your trend line is horizontal and you're not really losing any more weight, you got to drop the calories a touch. But you should notice that trend line at about a 2-week mark. So if you get 2 weeks and you're still the same morning weight on average, drop 300 calories, I would say, minimum. But, you got to look up your calories and your maintenance and everything else and judge it from there. Remote Halo 1907. How does it feel to be this shredded person compared to when you didn't have big muscles? Do you feel more confident? Well, I'm older, right? I started working out at 16 and a half, so now I'm 23. Just from getting older, you get a bit more confident in general. But, walking around a little beefier, not everybody cares. But for me, at least, I don't know, I feel pretty confident. But half of that is just, if you have an endeavor or like a skill or a hobby or something that you get extra proficient and good at, and you practice it a long time, which for me ended up being the working out, it kind of just feeds back into your own self-confidence in a way, because you have this thing which you work on all the time that you really get to push yourself with, and that you see results returned from that workload. Like the process of going through all of that for months, years, it does kind of make you feel a bit more like self-assured in a way. It's not like a total cure-all or anything, but yeah, I'd say if I didn't have the working out and I just played Marvel Rivals all day and scroll TikTok and stuff, I would definitely be a different guy than I am right now. But yeah, I definitely think it makes me feel a little more confident. The Fitness Vault. What advice would you give somebody who's a decent athletic build, pretty lean with some muscle, but is scared to properly bulk up? Oh, terrible. But a classic situation. You're not alone. You are not freaking alone. Everybody loves having some bicep veins when you're doing curls, or seeing a pretty decent six-pack, right? But that's where I might ask you, all right, are you making progress? Because there's no need to soften yourself up and really leverage your food intake and start bulking if you're still making reasonable, slow, gaining progress. But if you've been plateaued, like if you haven't broke past 180 for the last year or so, and you've kind of been gaining, then that's where I'd say, just start slow. Up your daily intake, 500 calories or so, assuming that you are tracking your calories. That's going to make it much easier to make sure you actually do increase your average intake, week by week. But yeah, you don't have to immediately start packing on size and body fat. You can start slow, just increase it. I'd say a 500 calorie jump per day would be solid. And then just watch the scale. If now you're suddenly getting a little bigger, but you're not getting too soft too quickly, at least, then you shouldn't even have a problem. Like, don't take things as so black and white as like, okay, I either have to stay lean or I have to get freaking fat and huge by doing an insane bulk. There's a middle ground, so just ease toward that bulking side of things a little more, but you don't have to totally start chowing down on like 100% treats. I'd say just up the intake marginally and then see what happens. That's where the scale is going to tell you, okay, are you growing or are you just staying the same size as before? And if it's the latter, then you got to start chowing down at least a bit more. The mouth eats. Are you going to be able to stay in classic physique? Or do you think you'll eventually move to open? I'm aiming for classic. And now I can be 10 pounds heavier. Plus, I totally checked into that, my check-in weight. I mean, not like as peeled as I could have been, Like it was as peeled as I could be for this dieting phase on this attempt. But, if I was a bit more thorough, maybe longer, like planned it out a little better, I definitely could have lost easily 2 pounds of body fat, which, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're that lean, that's a pretty big difference. So really, I'll be able to come in to check in if I actually get diced, peeled next time, 12 pounds heavier than I was this time, at least of like lean tissue. And that takes a while to build. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for. Like I always imagine myself classic. Now my bulk to look is a bit more open, but I guess we'll just have to see what happens, Like if I ever outgrew it and I couldn't get under that weight limit, then yeah, I just have to move to open. It's just the nature of things. But again, with one of the questions earlier, I'm not going to have to worry about that for a while. What do you think you'd be doing if lifting wasn't your main thing? Asks Sarthak_editor. I've got no freaking idea. There's like an alternate universe where I would be like a hardcore rock climber or like boulderer. Like I was really into that when I was younger, when I was like 14 or so. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, my whole day wouldn't change. The working out's only like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours including the drive. So it's not like it would change too much. I would just probably have some other thing I'd be into. I'm definitely one to hyperfixate on random kind of hobbies and like little things. So if it wasn't the lifting, I mean, your guess is probably as good as mine. But we got a last one here. Asks Tech with Isaac, how did you get started in bodybuilding? How can others get started? So for me, I was doing gymnastics. So I had a sport from like 12 or so to 16, and sophomore year of high school. I was pretty good. I could do some flips, but I wasn't going to like do it in college or anything. So it was starting to take a little toll on me, a lot of impacts. So I ended up quitting that. And that was a big chunk of time, right? Like 4 hours a day, including the drive, Monday through Saturday. So I've got some energy. I've got some like pent up energy. Like, all right, I got to spend my time doing something. I wasn't thinking that, but that was just kind of the nature of it. And then the lifting just kind of happened to plop right into my routine perfectly. I had a guy I was buddies with in high school. He was a bodybuilder. His name was Brandon. And he kind of took me under his wing in terms of going to work out and doing doing just regular pull downs and like chest days and stuff. I think we probably lifted maybe only a few times together, like 5 max, maybe 6. And by then you kind of get the gist of it. So I was kind of on my own, and then just started building them up from there, at this gym. Like the gym I just did my cardio at, this is the gym I started working out at like damn near almost 7 years ago. So there's no need to really go too crazy. I mean, your local fitness center is perfect. It's got weights, it's got cables, it's got racks, it's got everything. The only thing you're waiting for is for you to get in there and try it out, And there's so many videos too. Like just look up basic bodybuilding chest day. Or, just watch, there's a million videos, right? So find somebody you like, watch one of their workouts, shit, man, just copy what they do. Now, don't like think that, okay, this is the exact way to do it because this guy I like did it. Like, that's not the right approach at all, I think. But use it as experience. Just say, okay, that's what this is a workout that this guy likes. All right, maybe I'll watch somebody else try his workout. Right? Just classic monkey see, monkey do type, like, repetition and imitation. And in the process of doing that, you're going to start to get the gist and be able to really kind of come up with your own workouts and say, all right, let's do a chest day of Smith machine, hammer strength, pec deck, dumbbell flies, whatever. And as long as you finish the lift pumped, fatigued, and hopefully hungry for a post-workout meal, then you're golden. And shit, man, it kind of turns into a little bit of a like a wildfire in a sense, because the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, and the more gains and kind of improvements you see starts to motivate you to get even more gains and even more progress, and then you're going to put more time into it. Might even kind of evolve into a bit of an obsession, right? Be that a good thing or a bad thing, and it's kind of up to you to decide. But for me, yeah, it's ended up working out pretty freaking well. So I will see you tomorrow for the chest day that I'm going to end up doing tonight. So post cardio meal, not totally sure. Honestly, that breakfast filled me up pretty good, so maybe I'll just I can guarantee there's going to be at least a liter or two of some kind of electrolyte drink mix. That's for sure. But either way, I'll see you tomorrow for chest.